Real estate listing prices and asking prices are completely fake 90% of the time. Sometimes they're priced way above what the market value of the property is to try to get more money from a buyer, and other times it's just priced really, really low to make a buyer interested in a property that they shouldn't even be seeing. So today in this video, I'm going to reveal to you, using real world examples of properties, how to understand if a real estate price is fake and what you can do so you never get duped by this. Hi, my name is Pritesh and I lead a Toronto-based real estate team helping buyers and sellers all across the GTA. If you want to book a 15-minute call to see what kind of opportunities are out there in the market for you, just click the first link in the description below and we can set up a 15-minute chat with myself or someone on my team. If you get any value from this video at all, please hit the subscribe button and then you'll get more videos like this in the future. Okay, let's get right into it. So there's one of two different ways that properties are usually priced, and they're either underpriced or they're overpriced. It would be great if every seller went through the effort of figuring out exactly what the true market value of their property was and then just listing it at that exact price. And that way you'd know what it's worth and then decide if you want to offer on it or not. Well, that's not really the reality, right? Because the seller is trying to get the most money they can get out of that property. So they are going to use pricing tactics and strategies to help them get more money out of you as a buyer. So let's just say that the property is underpriced. Why would somebody actually do that? Well, the reason for that is because they probably want to drive a lot of offers on their property and start some sort of a bidding war. So if a property is priced at, let's just call it 500,000 and is clearly worth at least $1 million based on everything that we know, then they will try to take offers on that property and everybody knows it's worth more, and the seller will hope that they actually get more than market value out of that property. It is the job of you as a buyer and your professional real estate agent to figure out what the true value is to make sure you don't overpay on that property as a buyer. Now, the complete flip side of that is that a seller might overprice their property. And the reason they would do this is that if you overprice the property, you might be able to try to convince buyers that that's really what your property is worth. But in reality, if again, you're working with a professional real estate agent and you're doing all your due diligence, you'll figure out that the property might just be priced higher ambitiously for that seller to get more money. But the truth is that's not really in the market value. And that's where you'd have to go do your homework, and your realtor would do their homework and figure out what it might be worth to actually offer on that property. Okay, so now that we know that homes could be underpriced or overpriced, is there any other way that they could be priced? Well, yeah, there is that chance that they are priced perfectly at market value, and that's exactly what a buyer is willing to pay. That's often not the case, but just to kind of give us all of the different options that are possible, that is something that could be the case, and a buyer and a seller meet at exactly that listing price. So now that we looked at all of the different options of how a home might be priced, let's get into some real world examples. And we're going to look at two properties that are specifically listed on the market right now. They're live, so we can know how they're priced and what we're going to do to figure out what they're actually worth. Okay, so first I have on screen here a property, 88 Juilliard. So this is just listed on the market right now. This is a townhouse, a freehold townhouse in Vaughan, and is listed for $965,000. So the first natural question that any buyer is going to have is if this house is actually worth $965,000. Could be way less, it could be way more, or it could be very, very close to that listing price. So in order to figure out what the value of this property might be, just in terms of is it above or below at that level. So we're not going to try to figure out the exact market valuation of this property, but just to understand if this listing price is overpriced or underpriced or really close to what it should be worth. And the best way to do that is to look at comparables, and your realtor would be able to do this for you. I have on screen right now homes that have sold really, really close to this property recently, just to give us a really quick idea of what that price might mean. So for example, what I've done here is I've looked at homes that are unavailable, meaning that they've already sold. You want to look at prices of homes that are already sold, because that means that that is the actual real price that a buyer was willing to pay. If it's a listing price and the house is still on the market, again, it's just we're looking at another asking price. So that wouldn't be the best information to look at. So in this case, when I want to get a quick idea of where that listing price sits, I want to look at sold properties. And then I want to look at properties that sold relatively recently. And depending on how many sales there are in that neighborhood. You might need to go further back, or you can look at something very recent. In my case, I went to January 1st just to get a quick idea of what's nearby and what it's selling for. The other thing that I did is I quickly sorted for a similar housing type. So I looked at freehold homes that are townhouses, because that way we are comparing to the property that we're actually looking at that's also a freehold townhouse. So if we look over here in the neighborhood, this pin is the listing that we're looking at. And then very, very quickly, we can see a few houses that have sold nearby and what the prices were. If we zoom out a little bit, we can see a few more over here as well that help to give us an idea of freehold townhouse pricing. So we can see that there are a few houses here that are listed for, sold in the 900,000. So there's one for 950, there's one for 955, there's one for 950 again. So we're seeing a lot of homes that are 950 and below 950. Now there's a couple over here that are above, so we can very quickly just take a look at those to compare, does that house look similar or does it look different? So this is a 4-bathroom house. This is a 4-bathroom house, for example. And the property that we're looking at to compare is a 3-bathroom house. So very, very quickly, we can just make a deduction that let's look at these ones over here and look at that. That one's 3-bathroom. This one's 4-bathroom, but there are 0 photos, which, raises a little bit of a red flag to understand why wouldn't they show any photos. Maybe the property's not in the best condition. I don't know. We'd have to look into it. And there's one over here for 950. Again, a 3-bathroom townhouse that's freehold. So very, very quickly, we can understand that this home is probably worth somewhere in the $950 to $1 million range. Now, after we've deducted that these ones have more bathrooms and are probably a little bit nicer when we look at the photos. Yeah, so this one's got stainless steel appliances, a nice bathroom. Our original one had white appliances, for example. Just very, very quickly, we can see there are some slight differences between the properties, and we can understand that this house should be worth somewhere around that asking price, probably. Again, I'm not getting too deep into it right now. This is just a quick generalization. The other piece of information I'm able to see as a professional within my system is if this seller has listed a bidding war date or an offer date or not. And in this case, there is no offer date, meaning that they are willing to take offers from anyone who is interested whenever they want. Now let's try to find a home that is actually purposely underpriced and what that would look like in a real life example. So I have on screen here a home that is a semi-detached house, 3-bedroom, 4-bathroom, again in Vaughan, and it's listed for $999,000. Again, the same question would be, is this what the house is worth? What should we offer on it if we're a buyer and we want to learn a little bit more about it? Well, the first thing that I would be able to figure out in my system is to understand if there is an offer date on this property. In this case, there is actually an offer date, which kind of indicates to us that they're looking for some sort of a bidding war and they've probably underpriced it. But similar to what we did on the last property, let's look at homes that have sold nearby that are similar and see what they sold for. So on screen here, I have, again, this pin is the subject property that we're looking at that's been listed for $999,000. And then again, I've sorted for unavailable or sold homes, and there are freehold semi-detached homes that I'm looking at. Again, I made the filter sold properties and then properties going back from February 1st to present. So what you can see here is that all of the homes that sold nearby, right off the bat, you can see that they're in the $1.2 million range. Now, our subject property is listed at $999,000, and they have a date where they want to take offers. So very, very, very easily, we can see that a semi-detached home in this exact pocket is most likely worth more than $999,000. So that listing price is clearly underpriced and is not what the seller would be happy accepting. And to be fair, that's probably not the value of the property anyways, so it would be worth more than that. So we've now seen one actual real life example of a property that was overpriced, where there's probably some negotiation room in there. And then we saw a second example where the property was clearly underpriced and they would only be accepting offers that are above that asking price and more similar to the sold properties in that neighborhood. Now, I'm going to caveat this whole entire conversation with the fact that we were very, very high level and general in this video. Your realtor should be digging much deeper into this to understand the exact valuation based on all of the details of the specific subject property and then the sold property to understand a way closer and detailed and accurate market value for that property. But the goal for us today was to understand if the listing prices are overpriced, underpriced, or how to understand these fake listing prices that are not quite accurate. And that's what we were able to do. So the next time you see a listing that's on the market and you're wondering, does that price actually make even any sense? Hopefully you're able to understand a little bit better and have a conversation with your realtor about it to make sure you understand where they're coming from. If you found anything in this video helpful or handy, please subscribe to this channel and you'll get more videos like this. And again, if you want to book a 15-minute call with me or someone on my team to ask a question about the value of a property like this, or to learn anything about the market right now in terms of opportunities, just click the first link in the description below and we can set up a call.